Every shift starts the same way, with intent and purposeful preparation. Gear double and triple checked, making sure you're ready for the day. But once you step outside, nothing about the day is guaranteed. You face the unpredictable, the weight of decisions that matter. That's why Galls stands behind the uniform, to provide the reliability and support that helps you stay ready. Supporting the hero behind the uniform. Galls is proud to serve those who serve.
Welcome to Gold Shields. Join NYPD veterans Tom Smith and Dan Murphy. With over 50 years of combined experience chasing drug lords, dismantling cartels, and hunting terrorists. Now they pull back the curtain, sharing raw, unfiltered stories from the front lines and the heroes who stood beside them. No topics off limits. This is real. This is true crime. This is Gold Shields.
Hey, welcome back to Gold Shield. This is Dan Murphy along with my partner in crime, Tom Smith. How are you today, buddy?
I'm good and little sad.
Momentous.
A little
This is a
sad.
momentous. Yeah.
A little bit. Not really, but a little bit.
Yeah.
This is our last show of 2025 in season 3.
Third year. We've said it many times in the show. We can't even imagine that we were going to do 5 shows when we first started this.
Yep.
Trying to find a mic. How do you do this? And now we're at the point where we're finishing our 3rd season and we're booked. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
great, but it's ridiculous. And
It's
we pinch ourselves, right? I mean, it's amazing.
it's well, you just said it. We think about where we started. I mean, I had a $20 mic sitting in my closet doing the first few shows.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what this started as. And you know what? We're going to do a little now, and we're going to do it again in the end. But before we get to our very special guest, which is the perfect guest for the end of this year, for sure. But, we got a couple of people I just want to real quick upfront thank and jump in, Dan, our sponsors.
Yep.
Just run through them quick.
Goals.com.
Tactical Gear, Streamlight Newspapers.
Newspapers.com.
Yep. Patriot Seltzer.
Fairlineservices.com.
Yep.
Mhm.
It's just without them, we not have a tough time doing the show, but they certainly help. For
Yeah,
sure.
without a doubt. And you know what? They put faith in us, and they've listened to the show. They like it. They like the content. They like the direction. They like the positioning of who we are and how we put forward what we say all the time. We talk amongst each other. It's got to be truth. If you're going to
Yep.
come on our show, you're going to tell the truth. If not, we're going to cut you off at the knees. We're not going to hear grandstanding. We're not going to hear lies, distortions,
Right.
truth. And if it
Absolutely.
upsets people, we don't care.
That's the best part about having your own show.
That's right. I don't care.
And really quick, 2 factors make this all possible. Our guests are the best around. We get the best around with the best stories, and
Absolutely.
all our followers, because we don't have a show without them.
Well,
Tuning
it's-
in every week and liking and subscribing and following and all that. It's a big deal to us. So thank you. And we're going to thank some people at the end of this show that really need a big shout out. But we're going to get going with this last show, Dan, right?
Yep, we are, and hope later we're going to thank our team. We have a small but mighty team.
See, why do you got to blow up my ending?
I'm not blowing up your
I
ending.
just said we
This
got
is
to wait.
proof we don't rehearse. This is off the cuff.
Okay.
We don't rehearse. It's like we just go with it. Sometimes it makes fun, and sometimes it makes for mixed signals.
Absolutely.
But that's okay. We're happy to. We'll talk about them later. We wouldn't have anything without
Right.
them. They're amazing people. Yeah, we're gonna blow the cap off the year. With a show where we highlight, right, some amazing stuff that happened. Now, if you're a true crime fan, how can you not love 2025? It's been a gold mine for amazing cases and trials and drama and all kinds of stuff and intrigue. It's just been drenched with that this year.
Right. And we got the perfect person to put a cap on this whole year.
Yep.
Gold Shield year and true crime year. Julie Grant is a superstar from CourtTV. And when I
Yes,
say
she
that,
is.
I legitimately mean that. And here's a couple of reasons why. I met Julie at CrimeCon. When Julie has a booth with, CourtTV, and the line to see her was like wrapped down the aisle, around
Yeah.
the corner, that's who she is, and she's great at what she does, and we couldn't ask for a better guest for this year. So, Julie, welcome to Gold Shields to our finale of the year. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, Tom and Dan, well, thank you both so much for having me. I'm the one who's honored to be with the two of you. You two have had incredible careers, and I just want to say thank you for your service. I'm honored to be on your show, which is fantastic. Love your show, love the mission of it. And so this is really cool for me too. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Julie. That's high praise coming from you. So, without dwelling on it too much, people would probably guess, how did you get into doing what you do right now for Court TV and being this true crime goddess, we'll call you?
Oh, you're too kind. You boy, you got your checks are in the mail, Dan and Tom. Let me tell you, you're looking too good to me. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, maybe it's because I'm a Gemini. I don't know, but I always had an interest in journalism and law, and I thought, I think storytelling is really great. And one of the best things about journalism is getting to meet other people, and you detectives know that, getting to talk to people on your show and do interviews. You just learn so much, and I thought, well, maybe one day I'll go to law school, So I started as a journalist and did morning news and then some street reporting where I had like kind of a crime courts cops beat. And that really piqued the interest even further to go to law school. So then I left that job, went to school, did a fast tracked program where I did law school in 2.5 years. Rather than three, because I thought, oh, I want to get right back to news. And I had no intent of practicing, but then got interested in practicing because they recruited me for the trial team, and then I thought, "Oh gosh, if I don't practice now, I never will. I'm not gonna go 3 years of journalism and then go be a lawyer after I retire." So, I thought public service is a noble thing to do, so I went and served as a prosecutor and loved it, loved it, loved it. I stayed for about 4 years, and, then I got back into news, and I moved to North Carolina to do that. Worked for a station anchoring mornings and got to do some legal reporting, and then decided to continue with that. Moved to Pittsburgh, did legal reporting there, and got my LLM and trial advocacy. And then I heard Court TV was coming back, and threw my name in the hat and was fortunate enough to be chosen as one of the faces of the relaunch. So, the timing was great. I'm really grateful. It's like really the job I wanted, like a job where you could blend real life experience from working as a prosecutor with also actual cases that are going on right now to provide that insight that I think viewers really value.
Well, you do a great job at it. And one of the first questions to ask you, was how have you seen the coverage of like true crime cases just change over the years? It was kind of a thing a few years ago. You'd read about them, okay, and then it seemed like just this explosion of wanting minute by minute accounts of these headline cases. When did you see
Yes.
that shift there? And when did you kind of, or you and your team sit there and go, wow, this is, we have to kind of keep up with this?
That's a great question, Tom. You're right. True crime is really having a moment right now. It really is. And I think that when Court TV chose to relaunch, which was spring of 2019, I think that was really kind of seizing the wave when things really started kind of climbing. And I think the executives really saw that, wait a second, there's a huge appetite for this. Court TV never should have gone away, but it did for a while. A lot of people don't even realize it went away, but it did for a time. It was some business moves at the time. And I think that as soon as it came back, everybody was saying, "Oh, thank goodness, I missed you guys. I missed this." And you hear of people will tell me it's funny. Even my own mother, who is I feel like the best barometer because no one will tell you like it is, like your mom, right?
Yeah,
And
no,
and I know that
absolutely.
when she's glued to the coverage, it must be really good because oh, I couldn't get anything done today, Joel. I couldn't do this or do that because I couldn't turn it off. And I'm like, Mom, that's exactly what we want. We always say, if Court TV were any more addictive, it would be illegal. So that's the reaction we want from you. Oh,
It's funny. We go to CrimeCon for a couple of years now, and we met you at CrimeCon, and I didn't meet you much, but Tom spent more time. People who don't know what that's like, that is a subculture in this world of people who are very, very deep into the true crime world, up to and including people who are amateur sleuths and who try to help detectives solve cases legitimately. Now, some people
right.
send in information that's not that not that useful or it's already known and been checked out because they don't know everything about the case. But there are people out there who are able to dig more than a detective is able to because he's catching cases all the time. So I've always said, always maintained, hey, listen to people, never turn them away. But the audience, the appetite is voracious for interesting cases. It's a glimpse into the human being as under stress, under pressure, doing things we all want to think we couldn't do, but the reality is we could if we were put in that situation. So there's a lot of reasons why, but wow, the crowds are big there, aren't they?
Oh, they are. It's unbelievable, Dan. I mean, you're right. There is such an appetite for it and an interest in it, that people who haven't been, in the trenches, putting their lives on the line, like you and Tom have for so many years, are just interested in helping. And like you said, there is some utility if someone has some information. Look, I mean, how many times have you tried to get information in neighborhoods, knocked on doors, people won't talk to you? It's tough. So you're right. To your point, it's great when you find people who do want to assist and try to offer something, and who knows, maybe it's valuable, maybe it's not, but it could certainly be explored.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
they're great people. They just love what they love, and they followers and they knowing, it's newer for Dan and I in this world. So when we're sitting in our booth or at our table and people come up and start talking about our shows, it's like, wow, yeah, you remember that? What was your best? I remember this one. I love this one. It's such a great atmosphere that we're involved in now with CrimeCon and Vegas in May is gonna be
Oh
really,
my
really
Ah,
God.
what
interesting.
a great place to have the next
Yeah.
one goes,
I
right?
know, right? Yeah.
I'm gonna
It
try to
it
wrap the
was
vacation around it. I'm like already
yeah.
thinking, "After it's over, I'm
It
gonna
was
be."
Vegas or Bismarck, North Dakota. They were weighing both and they
Oh,
Unbelievable.
nothing against Bismarck. Nothing against
no, no.
But
Mhm.
it's a little different than Vegas.
a tad.
Listen, let's get into this.
Yeah.
We got some heavy duty cases that we want to just go over, and kind of dissect a little bit from not go into the kit, but your coverage of it and kind of backstage stuff of cases that were just, I mean, in the stratosphere this year and getting a different perspective of it from your view working in the media. Dan and I could talk about a case and see it and so on and so forth, but you have to take it to a completely another level when you're covering it. So I'm gonna start. We'll throw one out, and then we're gonna go from here. Idaho and Kohberger, uh, was kind of the pinnacle top this year uh, with cases. So let's start there.
Sure, sure, Tom and Dan. So heartbreaking, right? I mean, I think a lot of people still feel some kind of way about this case and will forever, because as great as it is when you get a resolution, right? And we had a resolution, we had a plea. Um, it still doesn't feel like complete justice. And you guys know that. You know from all the homicide cases you've worked, victims' families you've helped. And I always say, whenever you have closure in a homicide case, it's just partial closure. It's just some measure of closure because hearts are broken forever, lives are changed forever, the trauma continues forever. And I think what was so frustrating with him was, for a long time, he intended to fight it. And I think for some people, and at this stage in my life, I'm in that camp. I wanted him to get the death penalty. I really did. I wanted the case to let it go to trial, let 12 people, make that recommendation. Um, and I know that some of the families were divided. We know some of them felt strongly that he's deserving of the death penalty. Others weren't in favor of it. That's everyone's right to believe what you believe, and what, you know, um, you believe in is fine and wholly up to you. I think just the fact that he pleaded on kind of the eve of trial, everybody was making their plans. I know us as a network, we were getting everything in place to do the filming of it and send crews and figuring out how the shows were going to be extra special and who was going to be on the ground, who was going to be at headquarters. And it just was kind of like, okay, so now he's pleading, all right, so it's good he's admitting guilt, but he was so unapologetic and so unremorseful. It was just disgusting. It was just disgusting. I loved how the families, some of them really gave it to him and tore into him. I thought that was great to see because hopefully it gave them just some bit of closure and finality to be able to look the killer in the eye and and say what they want to say to the court and have him sit there and hear it. So I think it was just frustrating and sad, and I think maybe um, if there's any takeaway, I mean, gosh, I've thought about this. I've struggled with this. A lot of people have said to me, what do you think? What do you, and I'm going, I don't, I, this was one of those I think nobody really could have seen coming. Sure, there were little red flags. Now we look back but there was no real identifiable, this guy is stalking them and intending to harm them. It was really, really tough. And I think if any lesson is to be learned, as soon as you feel like something's amiss, call 911. I'm not saying it could have saved the victims here, but perhaps it could have caught him sooner. Trust your gut, call 911. I was just having this conversation with a friend of mine with her daughter at college away, and it's a nerve-wracking experience for parents when you send your kids off for the first time. And I was saying, be sure to tell your children not to be fearful of. That's why the police are there to respond.
These cases, that's great, great advice, and it's so true. And Tom and I both have kids that have gone away to college, and they came back, and they were in one piece, thankfully. But
Oh, thank God.
there was a risk. They're young. They're not worldly necessarily yet. But this case, I think, like a lot of cases, there's always an angle. Why is this case so big? Well, first of all, you had victims that were young, vibrant, attractive, away at college. It sets the stage. There are certain things that make a case stand out. Now, if this had been a drug shooting in an alley in the Bronx, 4 people killed, I hate to say nobody'd care, but it's not gonna make the evening news. It just isn't. It's gonna make it quickly. This is people you can relate to, and the killer himself is somebody that walked among us and looked as normal as can be and wasn't a savage, bloodthirsty person walking down the street with bloody knives looking for his next victim. These are, I think, some of the reasons why these cases become so interesting. We wanna know, how could this happen to these poor young people? But I also want to talk very quickly about the victim impact statements. You've had a chance in your career to be in courtrooms, probably a lot more than Tom and I with those. And seeing them on TV and watching the family get their chance they've been waiting for to lay into the person that devastated their lives, that ruined their children's or their family's lives, that's got to be the most powerful thing that happens in a courtroom, right?
Right. You're right, Dan. It's a moment for victims to say their piece. And it's a moment I think in many ways, people cherish and really value because you both know how the system works at trial. There are so many rules, and you can't say what you want to say when you want to say it. You have to follow the rules. And oftentimes things you both know can't come into evidence, right? But at sentencing, they can be presented to the court as a factor, even if it was excluded at trial. So it is, like you said, really a time that's so valuable and meaningful, for people. And I mean, in many times, I mean, you want to just cry with them. You see them and you see what it means. And when they're pouring their hearts out to the court, uh, it's pretty unforgettable, And I think it's like a human moment. It's a moment where we see the members of our judiciary really connect with the people and the victims, and it's like, okay, so this judge wearing the black robe in charge is a person too, and they're going home to their family tonight and thinking about what I'm saying. And I love when judges acknowledge the things that are said and really pay attention. I love when you see that when the judges, will make a comment sometimes after somebody speaks and let them know that they're connecting and hearing them. I think people just, largely want to be heard.
Yeah. And both of you just brought up, the statements, especially the sister of one of the victims was, I mean, that's memorable. No one who heard that's ever going to forget that. Maybe not word for word, but the impact of it and her feelings and what she said at the end, I mean, was monumental of just, you're a coward and she would have kicked your ass, if you gave her a chance. I mean, that was the best line
Yes.
in a situation that, not that we got gypped, and I don't wanna say it that way, but you know what I mean. You wanted to see him go through everything and get the worst penalty he coulda gotten, and he kinda slipped through that. And that just shows the just slimeball monster that he is and coward that he is, to wait till the 11th hour to go, all right, I'll plead guilty. You know, just the coward that he is. And that's exactly what he is.
You're so right, Tom. You're so right. And I think another thing stunning, and Dan, you touched on this, like how he was among us, like looking so normal, and I think that is another thing where he doesn't look like the monster, so to speak, that you would think who would break into a house in the middle of the night and murder 4 innocent, beautiful young people. It's like the Ted Bundy. I know my mother used to use that example when I was a little girl and to teach me about stranger danger, and just because somebody seems nice and, they look presentable. Ted Bundy used to, dress immaculately or, dress like he was in trouble and, had a disability and ask for help and you feel sorry. And so I think if anything, maybe it's a little bit of a learning lesson of wow. I mean, monsters come in all forms. Even PhD students are monsters like Kohberger.
Yeah, I think one of the things also that he did that if I was in that family, and I personally don't even know them, but I was pissed off at him for it. He put the family through this long, protracted series of hearings, court motions and actions, and then at the last minute you decide to take the plea. Now you're stringing the family along. They've got to get up. They've got to go to court. They've got to deal with the endless stress and anxiety of all these things. And then you finally pull a plug and don't give them the benefit of watching him get skewered by the evidence. It master manipulator, but that I think really it hit me. It ticked me off. I was like, you coward.
Yep. 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 Oh, yeah, he was infuriating. Yeah, I think he really was because he wasted so many resources. And remember that goofy alibi he put forth that he was stargazing, that he was, out driving around alone in his Coburger mobile in the middle of the night, happens to shut his phone off during the hour that the murders happen, and but it was he liked to stargaze. That's the stuff that infuriates me. When he just wasted everybody's time, all the money, people should be furious at that monster for the money he wasted in that defense. All those very good lawyers working hard for him to try to save his life. Not their fault. I always say, don't get mad at the defense attorney. They're just doing a job. Look, they're trying to save his life. They did an excellent job advocating for him. But you're so right, Dan. It's infuriating. He just really was a monster in disguise. And I really wonder if that was why he wanted to study criminology. I don't think he wanted to become a good professor. I really don't. There's part of me that thinks like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why was he in the program? I really wonder if this was to learn how to do sinister things. We'll probably never know, but I always ask the wonderful professor guests I have on, like, do you think that this was why? Because yeah, he did not belong in academia,
No,
with
I
some of the good
agree
folks.
with that
Yeah.
totally. He's too complex to be that simplified. If that he just there was more to the classes, the papers he wrote, the research he did to do what he did. I really believe that. This was years in the making. This wasn't a spur of the moment thing.
Mhm. Interesting you say that, detectives. I've wondered if have you thought about whether it's if he had other crimes? I've thought a lot about that. I always have wondered, did he do anything that just he never got caught? And
Well,
I
I'll tell you from my
You're gonna say
perspective.
what I'm gonna say, Dan. Go ahead.
Yeah, people don't start out with homicide.
Yeah.
He's been doing weird stuff or acting out his fantasies of whatever it is in other ways that maybe even haven't been detected, haven't been reported, haven't been put to him. But I don't know anybody that starts out with quadruple homicide as their first offense.
And
Mhm.
I think this was the first homicide. He did other stuff, like you're saying, Dan, without a doubt. This was kind of his first test. If he didn't get caught, this would have happened again on another campus or somewhere else, without a doubt. Without a
Mm.
doubt. This would have went
Mhm.
on and on.
That's an excellent point. Thank God he got caught. Thank God, great police work, and the gumshoe detective work too, pulling the trash. the trash pull at the parents' house, right? I mean, bravo. Thank goodness that was done. And in our technology now with the genealogical DNA allowed for, item testing. But
Oh, we always say, Julie, over the years, people throw stuff out in the garbage. They think it's like a black hole and just disappears. It's like, no, we're gonna get
all
it.
the right.
I pulled my share of garbage before, and there's
Oh yeah,
sometimes
Oh, we've
sometimes there's
done.
nothing in it but leftover rice and beans, and sometimes you got gold nuggets.
dumpster
Yeah.
diving and all the oh yeah, go out to a landfill. Oh yeah, that's always
Yes,
fun.
especially pre-cell phone.
Yeah.
Everything was people write
Oh,
stuff down on
yeah.
paper, and yeah. It's amazing the trail that people leave, electronic and otherwise, right?
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Before we get to our next one, just want to really quick give a thanks again to our premier sponsor, Goals.com. They did something great for us throughout the year, and they're continuing it until December 31st. To use the promo code GOLD15, get 15% off your purchases until the end of the year. That just started up again with the great work that they do for us. They're in our corner. Please be in theirs and go to goals.com and use the promo code GOLD15.
Goals.com. Goals is not just a company that sells things. Goals is a company with a heart for the men and women of law enforcement and first responders in general, and even the military. Mike Fadden, the CEO, has turned that company around, and he's made their focus on service, which is listening to the end user, which is people like us. And Krista and the rest of his team, phenomenal people. Tom and I will not align ourselves with people we don't believe in, and they are top shelf.
Top shelf.
Goals.com, they give back plenty to the community that we are so happy to have been a part of for our whole professional lives. So if you're going to buy something, Goals.com.
Absolutely. All right, Julie, you ready for another one?
Yeah, let's
Yeah,
go.
let's go, detectives. Let's go.
Let's hit Luigi Mangione up.
Oh my.
And the reason, and here's why I bring him up, because and go into it, please, but just give my kind of thing about why he was this thing during the year. I haven't seen a public reaction to a bad guy the way it was since like Charles Manson with the following and oh my god, he's great and let me marry him and all this other garbage on top of what he did, which we're going to get into. But that's why I want to talk to about him because that part was wild to watch. How they put this guy up on a pedestal who cold-bloodedly just killed someone.
Right. Oh, yeah, he's been celebrated in America. Celebrated, fawned over, lusted after. It's disgusting. It really is. And I'm not saying he's not a very handsome guy. Yeah, he's a handsome guy. He's, nice looking. And if he didn't look the way he looks, I'm sure we would not have the reaction that we're having from people on TikTok. I mean, you go on TikTok, it's stunning to me. The people that are, like just like really, like you said to 'em, like they're like, "Luigi, call me. Luigi, I wanna give you my number." Like, he's accused of murder, a cold-blooded murder. And it's really sad that nobody's talking about the victim. Nobody's talking about Brian Thompson, who was shot in the back, I mean, assassinated in the middle of the road in New York City, unsuspecting, totally ambushed. It's awful. If I was one of those prosecutors on this case, I would be sick to my stomach worried about jury nullification. I really would be. I think this is one where that defense team has the upper hand big time with it. And he's got great lawyers. We know that. Karen Agnifilo, uh, Mark Agnifilo's wife, and now I believe Mark Agnifilo has also joined the team. We heard Mark's name a lot because he was lead counsel for Sean Combs in his trial this year, another big trial, as you both know, huge. Um, he and his wife are powerhouse lawyers in New York City. I mean, it's tremendously respected. They practice in federal and state court, and so he's in excellent hands. We also know he's a trust fund baby, as I understand it. So there's lots of money there from the family for his defense, and people are pouring in. The donations are pouring in. I mean to say, on the GoFundMe's and everything else that last time we checked, I want to say it was like close to $1 million. It was something obscene, like 800,000. I think the last time we checked about a month ago or so. It's nuts.
An instance like this, I was the CSO of a couple of companies and larger companies, chief security officer, and I had responsibility for executive protection. And some of the chief executives of these companies were comfortable with that, and some weren't. Some wanted to just wander on their own. I'm fine. I'm just going to wander out. You can't do that when you're head of a large company that can have hot button issues all the time with some of their customers. Healthcare is just that. United Healthcare is an insurance company. They insure millions of people. They deny a lot of claims. They deny a lot of people not basic, but medical services for a variety of reasons. They make people happy and healthy, and they make people unhappy. So there's always going to be somebody out there that's posting something or harboring this madness towards you. And Luigi seems to have come from that a little bit. But it's interesting how that turned into this whole statement about these big companies that rip us off and, you know, CEO salaries are extraordinary and they need to be regulated. And it brought so many other arguments under that umbrella that drove people to craziness. Like you said, they want to marry this guy. The guy's a murderer. He's just a young, dopey murderer.
Looking for powerful defense without the mess? Meet Impact, a revolutionary line of chemical irritants designed for law enforcement, military, and personal protection. With no blowback, no cross-contamination, and easy cleanup, Carry Impact delivers unmatched stopping power without the hassle. Whether you're in the field or on the street, safety should never be compromised. Protect yourself with the next generation of defense. Carry Impact, stopping power redefined. Have you ever wished you could go back in time and see the events that shape the true crime cases that fascinate you? With newspapers.com, it's like having a time machine to the past. Dive into more than 1 billion newspaper pages from 1690 to 2025 and relive the headlines that shocked entire towns. Explore newspapers from the US, UK, Canada, Australia, and beyond with a simple search. Read the breaking news as it happened, crime scene reports, witness testimonies, and courtroom drama. Explore forgotten clues and see how the media shaped the narrative of infamous cases. But it's not just the major stories. Newspapers.com lets you dig into local mysteries, missing persons reports, and the small-town scandals that history forgot. It's the closest you can get to being there when it all unfolded. So, if you're ready to dig deeper into the crimes that keep you up at night, start your journey today at newspapers.com. Use the code GOLDSHIELDS for an exclusive 20% discount on your subscription.
With money.
An excellent point you bring up, Dan, because it's like the Robin Hood effect has kind of taken over where people are seeing him as a hero and, oh boy, he's fighting for us and all that. And there's a way to go about it. Luigi Mangione is a smart guy with tremendous schooling and family financial support that if he wanted to run for president someday, he could probably do it. Become a lawmaker, maybe start at the state level, go to the federal level. If he's concerned about our laws and our policy in America, then go about effectuating change the right way. Go about legitimately changing the laws rather than taking the law into your own hands, allegedly committing a homicide in broad daylight. Like that's a way to ruin your life. And I really hope the jury can separate the personal feelings because I think we all have it. Like you said, we all might have feelings about, with our healthcare. I mean, things that we didn't want to pay for this year in 2025, we all had to pay for probably, I mean, just things that we don't feel are fair. But it's America. It's the system we have, and um, I it troubles me, and makes me really sick and sad that this is how savage we are as a society that people applaud that kind of conduct. Rather than condemning it. And I think until we all get on the same page in society and, have that kind of same moral compass, like murder's wrong, under any circumstances, murder's wrong. We're gonna continue to see the division and some of the outlandish behavior we're seeing.
Right. And you know what? People need to realize, and two quick things. The jury pool is going to be really hard to get through. That's going to be really, really difficult because of everything that's happened in this. But people need to realize that, and Danny and I have both done it. We both investigated it. We both involved in these cases. What had to go into the planning and cold heartedness of what this kid did. He didn't just spring up one morning, go, all right, I'm running out, I'm doing this. This was calculated, planned, pre walk through the whole 9 yards. That takes a lot of evil in your heart to put together a plan to, in the end, kill someone. That's what people need to realize. He is not a celebrity. He's not this. He's a cold-blooded, calculated murderer.
And his Achilles heel in all of it was that he thought through the act itself. He laid in waiting. He thought through the act. He didn't think much about the escape because rarely does the criminal genius decide to hide in a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. It's really not the place to go. They still have an extradition agreement between Pennsylvania and New York. I don't know if he knew that, but so yeah, very motivated, but not the smartest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
gonna hide in McDonald's and I'm gonna grab a Greyhound and it'll be great. Yeah,
Still wearing the same stuff he wore that everyone's looking for him in.
of course.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
You know? But, Julie, here's your part and what I wanna get. What's like, when you have a case like this, and Kohberger as well, what's the studio like? When you guys are putting stories together, what's the discussions like and opinions of, "All right, let's talk this angle and maybe stay away from this." What's the strategy that goes into covering these stories on, the media part?
Yeah, that's a great question. I always, well, and I can speak to, my show in general, like everybody's opinions are welcome. I want to hear opinions, and I always have to, remind myself. So what I may be thinking about, is going to be through my lens of life, my experience from having been a prosecutor. I didn't serve as a detective like the two of you did. So that's why I often, want, you guys to come on my show. Tom, we love having you on the show, and Dan would love to have you sometime in the future as well. Tom's been outstanding, and I want to have people with different perspectives. So when we talk about these cases, we'll sit around the table, my teammates, and we'll say, okay, so we're going to talk about Luigi Mangione, and somebody will say, well, did you see what's on TikTok, and pull up a video? I'll say, okay, let's incorporate this video because this public sentiment is shocking. And then, okay, let's get, a criminology expert to talk about the behavior that we see, just what you detectives were identifying about how well thought out this was and the planning and the purposeful nature of what occurred here. And so we try to incorporate different expert voices. I always want to learn something. I always want to have somebody on the show who can bring a perspective and a, insight from an area that viewers wouldn't otherwise get. So that's always the goal. I always try to have the goal of educating people, and then we want to make it an enjoyable show to watch it. We want it to be informative, but also enjoyable, entertaining. And so, yeah, I think we kind of try to hit everything. We tackle the legal aspects of it. We talk about, what cases are making headlines, what's interesting about them, sometimes what people are talking about is not the legal issue. It's something else in the case. It's maybe like a character in the trial, or a viral video, or something. And so, we try to look at things from everyone's perspective. And I always like, asking my colleagues who are going to have a different perspective than me. I'm going to look at it from a prosecutor's perspective. And when someone says, well, why is this happening? And I'll go, yeah, we need to explain this because our viewer at home may not have ever worked in the criminal justice system, and most likely not. And that's why they're watching. And so let's explain how things actually go on. And yeah.
That's a great point, but I think we've reached a point now in 2025, almost 2026 America, when it comes to true crime and coverage of it, we have a far more educated public than we did, let's say 30, 40 years ago, if they were covering a trial. It seemed to be a lot of responsibility back then to explain what this motion means in court, what that means. Now, a lot of people are like, oh, I know what that means. I know that hearing kind of thing. I know how this works. And they've picked up a lot more, even discussing evidence and collection of evidence. They watch and they learn. And so
Yes.
You don't have to be that rudimentary anymore. And Tom and I, we've talked about this on our show. Certain cases and things we talk about, we want to make sure if we start talking too much insider baseball, or we start using too many acronyms or things like that, whoa, this is what this means for the audience, just so they know. But we have an informed world. I mean, this has been showcased so well by Court TV and other outlets that people know more than you think.
Yeah, you're right, Dan. You're right. You're right. I think once upon a time you might have to explain what emotion to suppress means, but now the type of audience that's listening, to your show and watching Court TV is going to know. I know exactly what that means. Okay, what's in the motion to suppress? You don't have to explain what suppression is. Yeah. So definitely, yeah, people come educated and say loving their audiences, the courties, because they want to be in the courtroom every day, and so they get
Yeah.
used to terminology, and they're kind of our 13th juror, so to speak.
And they feel like they are. That's the good thing. All right, we're gonna hit one more, and I was I hope you guys don't mind, but I was thinking of Diddy, but I can't talk about him anymore.
Yes.
I had it written down. I'm like, no, no, we can't.
Tom, we talked about this. We're not going to refer to him as Diddy.
Oh yeah,
Diddy.
Sean.
Yeah, he
Uh,
did. Yeah.
but
I thought you were gonna say the diddler. That's what they call him on
the
TikTok, the diddler.
and I'm like, we can't do that. But I want to hit a case that Court TV and you really hit on a lot during this year, and it is probably one of the most bizarre cases that happened this year, and that's the Doomsday murders,
Oh,
uh,
yes.
with the, Daybell, that it you can't put into words that whole case,
Yeah.
and that's why I leave it to you, and that's why we have people like you on to explain it, uh, but that was just, one of those what the hell next? It seemed like every day, and you're gonna speak to this a lot better than Dan and I. It was like every day it was something else and someone else, and on and on and on. So let's hit that to end this series of crazy 2025 cases.
Sure, that is really the perfect one to end on because it probably is the craziest criminal, case we've come across in a long time. I mean, we all have seen some wild stuff, but here you have this mother, Lori Vallow Daybell, and she's got this great life, and by all accounts, by accounts of, family and friends, like, she was normal. Everybody said, she was normal and a good mother and a nice lady and fun and pretty and had a great personality, and then at some point, something changed, and she became really a cult follower. That's how we started calling her cult mom. She got, um, extremely involved in these, religious beliefs and the teachings of this, so-called prophet, self-proclaimed prophet, Chad Daybell, who winds up becoming her husband and her co-defendant, and essentially they kill people closest to them to be together. So really, what I think it's so insulting is they kind of used religion as a guise for murder, and it started with her kids, her two minor children, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. And I mean, and actually backing up, I'm gonna back up. I had to catch myself here because the order we saw the trials go was not the order of the killings. The first killing was Charles Vallow, who was, her fourth husband and a wonderful guy. And he was on to how her behavior was, drastically changing. And he really thought she was kind of going off the deep end and becoming so extreme in these beliefs. And she was a doomsday believer and was making crazy claims about him, saying, he's possessed and claims about wanting that she's going to kill him and can kill him. I mean, she actually said these things and he even took it to a police and it just sounded so crazy. But she created a setup where she had her brother kill him and made it look like a self-defense case, and for quite some time, police did believe it was that. But then after everything else started unfolding, the fact that, her kids disappeared and then they're found buried and Chad's backyard. So first it was Charles Vallow dies, then the kids, JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan. Um, and Tammy Daybell, Chad's wife, dies. Um, all these people in their orbit, all these deaths suddenly become so suspicious, but investigators couldn't solve it right away because it was so bizarre and everything looked like Tammy's death, they thought was natural causes. So it was like, oh, he just, oh, and it was like really when the kids disappeared was that's what drew the attention. It was like, okay, these kids didn't just vanish. Where are they? Why are you two gallivanting in Hawaii? And then it was evident that there was an affair. And now they're both convicted. He's on death row, for the murder of his wife, the murder of her 2 kids. She escaped the death penalty only because of the prosecution's office incompetency. They failed to meet some discovery deadlines and made some really egregious legal moves, not turning over materials that the defense had a right to when it was a capital case. And the judge sanctioned them and said, well, now you can't pursue a capital case because you have not followed the rules, and I can't allow this woman to potentially go on death row when she hasn't been given the right to prepare adequately for her trial. So she's in prison for life, but convicted of murdering her kids, Chad's first wife, and then also her 4th husband, uh, Charles. And my heart goes out to her family. I've met some of them. I've met her brother, Adam Cox. He's a wonderful guy. He's trying to do a lot of work to keep the children's memories alive. I've met her uncle, Rex Connor, great guy. They all say the same thing, like, they don't recognize her, that she is not the same person, like, this evil behavior, just developed, but she thinks that she's or so she says, she thinks she's, serving, God, and this was all, God's plan, and everybody's forgiven her, and, all is well in her world.
So
Yeah.
you look at this case and you think to yourself, obviously it's bizarre, but part of the reason why it's so interesting is, and at least a lot of people, you have a long established religion that she was a member of, and then all of a sudden she goes off the deep end with this apocalyptic stuff. And so there's people that like to say, "Oh, see, religious people are nuts," right? That's an avenue where people will want to tune in and watch that to further that belief. Everybody they're crazy, right? This is what they think. When in reality, she's just a wing nut. She went off the edge for some reason. She thinks she's some kind of a deity, thinks she's some kind of a god, and she thinks her kids are in the way of her mission for the apocalypse. This is the kind of stuff of science fiction, horror movie stuff. This is not real. Real people don't do this, but they do. And that's why this case, I think, and also attractive woman, regular
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
This is not somebody who's a fringe person. All of a sudden, a lot of interesting cases like that. Somebody who looks
right.
just like an upstanding person. All of a sudden, you find out,
Yes.
wow, wow.
Yes, Dan. That was part of the intrigue. It really is like Luigi and Kohberger in a way. She's very pretty. I think she was like Mrs. Texas or she competed in the Mrs. Texas pageant. I can't remember if she won or not, but really pretty, really physically fit. Yeah, it was like, wait a second. So that was part of it. People were looking at this woman like, is she capable of this? And then, like, the Coburger thing, like we talked about, this is a mom. I mean, she was a mom. You think, "Oh, what mother's capable of doing this? Killing all these people?" Like, I mean, it just I still think that she and Chad might be behind her brother's killing. I really do. I'm really suspicious of that. Supposedly, he died of a weird heart condition or something, but even talking to family, her brother Adam and her uncle, they've come on my show and talked about how they're very suspicious of his death and wonder because he was afraid of her. He actually thought that, so I wonder if we'll ever see an investigation, reopened there with Alex Cox and whether we'll see
Yeah,
any.
and Dan, you hit it. If you made this a movie and made this a script, they probably wouldn't do it because it's too nuts,
Disturbing. Yeah.
of different red herrings and this and that. It'd be, it's too complex. No one's gonna buy it. And yet, like you said, this is what's out there, and this is what is amongst us, and it's a sad the waste of life and the way these people go about just killing people like, "Yeah, right." It's like throwing the garbage out, and they have no thought about it, no, sense of what someone else's life is gonna be after this person's gonna they have no sense in that. They just eliminating people like a bug
Mhm.
is wild.
Right. You're right. They did not care. And they tried to kill Brandon Boudreaux, the young man you both know who was married to Lori's niece. They're divorced now, but that was the other trial this year. We saw the trial, of course, over Charles Vallow's death, and then also the one over the attempted killing of Brandon Boudreaux. And you're right. You wonder how many more people she would have tried to kill if they hadn't been arrested the way they were going, and just so callous about these lives. Like, and the kids, I mean, my gosh, it was like Charles was the last living protector of those kids. He knew the kids were in danger. He was trying to protect them. And, hear those loving grandparents, the Woodcocks, Kay and Larry Woodcock. Kay is Charles' sister. They would have gladly taken those kids. If she didn't want them, I'm sure they would have said, please, we would love to have those little angels in our house. And no, no big deal, get a divorce, but it was all about the money. They needed their spouses to be dead. I'm sure you guys have seen this many times, the playbook where, you don't just have a divorce for the sake of a divorce. This is like you need to have a homicide to get a life insurance pay. And that's what these two were trying to what they were angling to do with their horrible conduct. Yeah.
It's amazing, and you have to wonder how many people actually do get away with it because for some
Mhm.
reason people keep trying it. A lot of people
Right.
try it and they make obvious mistakes and they get caught, but you got to wonder how many people get away with it. In this case, she almost could have if she kept her head on straight, but she was hell bent, so to speak. This apocalyptic crusade. People are in my way. I need to do this, and it's a glimpse into what can go wrong when people are brainwashed or people are, so dedicated and committed to a bizarre philosophy that they look at people as disposable.
Mhm. You're right.
Amazing. Well, we just showed how insane this true crime world was in 2025. And we got 2026 to be ready for. But you know what, Julie? There's one thing I wanted to say to you, and your show, and Court TV, especially your show because we know it so well. Court TV and your show, opening statements is not just about these big high profile cases. You give a voice to these other cases that are out there and these victims that are out there that no one knows about. And you do such a great job with bringing up cases that people should pay attention to, but they get lost in the craziness of three that we just laid out. And you do that so well in bringing victims and families to the forefront in your show of, "Hey, everyone, yeah, she got these these nut bags and high profile cases, but you need to pay attention to these people too." And you do such a great job at that. And I just wanted
Thank
to
you
say
so
that, it's not just all about high profile stuff. There's a lot of other stuff going out there that people need to know about.
Tom, well, that means so much to me. Thank you so much for saying that. That's always been my mission, and I love my bosses at Court TV, or big boss or head of network. I adore Ethan Nelson, and he understands truly how important that is to me. That being a voice for victims, for the people who aren't going to get that chance to share their perspective and have people understand what this crime has done to their lives. I really wanted to pay attention to that, and um, do meaningful work that I hope means something to the people whose cases we spotlight. And I want to do things in a sensitive way, in a way being mindful of that, because in real life, I mean, and you guys have experienced this. We hear about in the true crime world that we work in now, right? And there's this whole um movement where people are interested in true crime cases and they're taking in podcasts and shows and all that. But we've all served in the world of real crime. And you guys know, I mean, what it's like when you deal with victims and how awful it is to find yourself in the system and when nobody wants to listen to you or help you. And it's just a horrible place to be. And I think just like never forgetting that feeling, when you're helping those people and advocating for them. And then some people know I do this because I talk about it from time to time on my show, but volunteer work I do with victims' rights organizations on my spare time, the National Center for Victims of Crime. And there's an organization back in Pittsburgh, a domestic violence organization called Crisis Center North that I work with as well. I want people to know that, you know, we're not for, we're not forgetting about what really matters, and I'm like, I can't control the world. I can't control what people talking about. But at least in my little world of opening statements where you incredible detectives are always welcome. I am, honored to put the focus on the victim. So Tom, thank you for mentioning that. It really means a lot.
Well, Julie, you and your colleagues at Court TV and others in this arena are doing the public a service. You are opening the door and shedding the light on a part of our lives in America, our society, which is the criminal justice system. To see how it works, to see what mistakes can be made, to see the real people that are in it. It's not this nameless, faceless thing. The lives that are changed for better and many, many times for worse who enter into this system. And you're showing you're bringing humanity to it. You're bringing real concern and a desire to educate and inform the public and highlight stories that are worthy of it. So thank you for what you do. You are a gem.
Dude,
I hope
thank
many
you.
more years you continue to serve in that capacity, and long live Court TV and everything that they're doing, because it's just been a great benefit to the people of the United States, actually, and other
Oh,
places too.
gosh. Dan, that means so much coming from you. Thank you so much. And you and Tom, I can't say enough about what you guys have done. You guys have done the real hard work. You guys are real life heroes, and it's not easy to do what you've done. You put your lives on the line, and you're doing the same thing with your show. You're sharing your perspective with people and giving them the insight they wouldn't otherwise have. So I have great admiration for the two of you and the great work you do. And so congrats on season 3, and I can't wait for season 4.
Well, thank you so much. And if there's the 1 to 2 people that live under a rock somewhere in this country, tell everyone where they can see you
Aw,
and
thank
how they can get in touch with you. Those 1 to 2 people that don't know, let them know.
No, I never assume that anybody knows, but thank you for your kindness. Yeah, Court TV Network, we are available everywhere. So depending upon where you live, we may be on your cable. I would check your cable first. Roku, Pluto, Amazon Fire Stick, Apple TV, YouTube TV, all those places we are there. We're also available on CourtTV.com. You can stream us for free. We have a free Court TV app as well. We stream on our YouTube, so we're really easily accessible. However you wanna you wanna watch, and some of the Gordies love to like watch with 2 devices. Like they'll have us on their TV on whether it's cable or Pluto or Roku, whatever it is, and then they'll like have on their laptop the YouTube chat going because we have the YouTube chat on the cases, so that's always fun. When they'll say, "Oh, I watched here or there," I'm like, "Good, good." We love those ratings. So, yeah.
Well,
But
this was
thanks
it. This
for
was
having
an
me.
enormously enjoyable way to end our third season, and thank you, Julie, so much for giving us your time, your insights, for what you do, and just for your support. We
Aw.
appreciate it more than you know.
Oh, the pleasure was mine. Congratulations, and thanks again for having me. It's been great.
Absolutely. And this is the last time for 2025 that we do this part of the show, and just say a prayer for our law enforcement officers out there and our members of the military, victims of crimes, family members of law enforcement, first responders, because they go through this job as well, just on a different level. They need our prayers. They need our support. They need to know that there's others in their corner, that they're not alone in doing and dealing with what they're dealing with on an everyday basis. So please always keep them in your prayers. For us, make sure you check us out, youtube.com/@goldshields, our website, thegoldshieldshow.com, and every audio channel you can think of, thankfully. And please stay tuned for a special overtime right after this, where we're going to go over this show as we always do, but end the year the right way. So for our amazing guest, Julie Grant, and which was a pleasure and honor to have as our last show of this season. My partner, Dan Murphy, this is Tom Smith. Everyone out there, please stay safe. We'll see everybody soon.
When it comes to the safety of law enforcement, first responders, and military personnel, every moment counts, especially in the dark. Streamlight provides the reliable, high-performance lighting solutions that these heroes trust in the most dangerous situations, whether it's a car stop, navigating dark alleyways, or exploring abandoned buildings. With Streamlight by their side, our heroes can tackle challenges with confidence, knowing they have the power of advanced lighting technology to guide them. From the first responders on the front lines to the law enforcement officers ensuring our safety, Streamlight is there to make every mission a little easier and much safer. Join us in supporting those who protect us. Visit Streamlight.com to discover how you can be part of the team keeping our heroes safe. Because when they shine, we all shine.
Patriot is a premium whiskey hard seltzer. We've carefully crafted 4 flavors that not only taste exceptional, but can be enjoyed on any occasion, anytime. We're committed to giving back 5% of all profits to the core groups we call the backbone of America. We are proud to help those who serve our great country. This is America's Seltzer, the brand that stands for quality, community, and the American spirit.
And as promised, we are back with the OT, the overtime. Cops love overtime, don't they, Tom?
They do, especially during the holidays,
Oh,
which this
funny how
is.
that works, huh? Funny how that works. Funny
It
how
comes
that
up.
works. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I remember back in the day, and I'm just gonna reminisce for a second, back in the day when the paychecks came in differently. If you got overtime in the beginning of October, it was overtime from the month of August. It was always skipping a month, and then the first check was the overtime. So you can imagine the month of October, more people were arrested in New York City than anywhere else in the world because every cop needed Christmas money. So the first check in December meant your October. So going to central booking in October, there was 3,000 cops down there. Everybody locked up everything that moved. It was like, I don't make a rush usually, but it's Christmas money. That's the kind of people that were down there. But
because we
anyway,
didn't make a lot.
no,
We didn't
you
make a
had to
lot.
do that to be
You
able to
had
buy
to,
gifts
yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yep, no doubt. And there was a lot of crime to choose from anyway.
There's times when you had to, like, turn your eyes blind and drive into a corner to ignore an arrest that's running in front of your car begging you to cuff it. I mean, that's how bad
Yeah.
stuff was at one period of
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Uh,
that was an amazing show. I
she's
love
something.
yeah, wrapping up a year with somebody like her and talking about some of the high profile cases. 2025 was, a potpourri of you name your pick. What type of crazy case do you like? It was there this year,
Oh,
right?
we could have done that for another hour with, cases that we could have talked about all night.
Easy.
But those 3 just, just stood out,
Yep. And
really
she
stood out. And
and
she
she get
just she's so articulate and so well spoken and so educated in
yeah.
these cases. That was the best part of the love, just listening to her.
Yeah, yeah, and she's a real human being who sits there and takes the whole environment in and doesn't just report on, well, the judge said it's going to do this, and no, she's reporting on everything: the victims, the families, the impact the whole case has had, how the defendant is acting in the courtroom, all that kind of stuff. But she gives you a very uh, learned sort of blow by blow of what's going on. So it was an honor to have her on. She's just a gem, and Court TV is doing great work.
Yeah, yeah. It's just, like I said, she's just one of those special people, and you could tell just by the way she is with us, on the show. And you know what? It's not just like you nailed it. It's not just getting in front of a camera and talking about a case. She gave a little backstage into sitting around and going over it and what do we say and what don't we say. And there's a
Right.
lot of work that goes into that because they also have a great responsibility to do it right. You don't want to put false stuff out there and then have someone sue you and come after you and all that garbage.
Right.
So that's an added, thing that they do as well.
You gotta worry about slander, it's very real. Defamation of character, you have to be very careful. People are alleged to have done crimes, they're innocent until proven guilty, and you have to keep that in your mind no matter how disgusting the crime itself
Right.
was.
Yep.
Um,
No doubt.
so we had a great time with her doing that and really enjoyed it and hope the audience did as well. But now we're just gonna take a minute or so and really, really dive into what did we do this year? Well, I think this was an amazing year, Tom. It's incredible.
Yeah, this was a special year with getting people on board with us with goals and Streamlight and newspaper, just getting people who believe in us and wanted to back us up because of, what we're doing and the message we're putting out there and the stories we're telling. And that was always the part of this, Dan, that when we started this, it's unimaginable to look back 3 years ago and think of like today.
Right.
We would have never thought of this, but
No way.
it's the guest stories and how they portray themselves and how they tell the stories and, and just have people coming back, and it's a pleasure to do this. It's not even work. It's
No, it
just,
isn't.
it's just fun to do with who we're around now.
You're right, and our network has grown significantly, and it's been a blast to watch happen. It's a surprise to both of us all the time, but you know what? We try to be true to our ethics, which is that we don't want people on who are gonna lie. We wanna tell good stories. We honor our guests, which is one thing that we all we don't have to even agree upon that. We do innately. Our guests come on and give us their time and share their stories. We're gonna treat them well, um, unless, of course, they were to deviate from that. But for the most part, we have great people who we were able to attract, and our network growing allows us to find even more. And there are so many great stories out there of people who people have heard of and people who people have not heard of at all. We want them both.
Right. And just think of this, a couple of things I just want to go over. Like right now, it's the last show of the year, and we are already booked. January and February are already done with our schedule and
Yeah.
bookings of shows. Where you look back and we were like, "Oh my god, are we gonna be able to do this next week? Are we gonna do this next month?" And yeah, I look back at numbers that I used to get thrilled about, when we started, and now to this day, like, probably when this comes out, we're gonna be over 100,000 downloads. We're in 110 countries. You know, a couple moved up. I looked at it the other day, and a couple of Australia. I think Australia jumped Canada with where we'll
Really?
be. Yeah, uh,
Wow.
number 2 or number 3. But when we laugh and talk about things like this, that's what makes it is fun. It's not. We don't take it serious. We do, but we don't. You know what I mean by that. Uh, and where we're at now, and it's our guests, and it's our fans and followers and subscribers and all that make this possible.
Yep. And let's talk a little bit about our tiny but mighty staff, without whom we would not have a finished product that's worth anything.
We do, Ovette, is our producer and editor who
Oved
we're not
Mendoza.
doing this right now without him.
That's right.
Not even remotely close without Ovette Mendoza, and the talent he has and the patience he has and just what he does with making this. And we get so many compliments about how the show is set up and the openings and, screens and all that. And thankfully for him, then we have the graphic side with Taylor Smith, just happens to have the last name of me. That's
Funny how
because
that
she's my
works.
daughter.
Yeah.
uh, with the graphic part of it, and it's great. And I also want to just throw out, Lily Penna, who was our intern over the summer, did a masterful job,
That's right.
which she did for us over the summer and at CrimeCon,
Yep.
and she was absolutely a pro's pro
Oh,
with what
God,
she
yeah.
did for us.
Yeah. Thank you, Lily. If you're listening, we hope you are. Thank you for all you did for us, and we are so happy that you landed a position in this world. I mean, we're just very thrilled for you, and they're
Yeah.
lucky to have you.
Yep. It's just, we got another year to go, man.
Un
We got to do this all over again.
uh,
I just said that to someone yesterday, talking about the show, and I'm like, during the year, booking people is not easy, but it's easy. I get to this time of year is when I get panicked and go, "Oh my god, I gotta do it again." It's like starting completely over, but we're already off to a great start with what we got coming up in January and February already, and we may be blowing some people's minds with who we got coming up.
Don't give it away.
Oh, hell no. Sorry,
Don't give it
everybody.
away. No, 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 no. No, we have, well, one of the things I love about working with you, Tom, and this is you are not afraid to pick up a phone and call anybody on the planet. We always joke and say we're one phone call away from anybody, Pope, president. There's the phone right now calling. It's probably the White House or it could be the Vatican. In any event, we love to say that. We love to joke around about it, but it's true. It's amazing what you can do in this world if you pick up a phone and ask, you know?
Hey,
It's
you know
just,
what?
you know?
One of the biggest statements I make all the time is if you don't ask the question, you're not gonna get the answer.
That's right.
If someone says no, I'm in the same spot I was 2 minutes ago. So
Right.
what's the difference?
No, we get a
And
lot
you
of
know
yeses.
oh
Yeah.
my god, I was just gonna say that. You know what? I we haven't I don't know anyone who said no. We've said no to, because of certain reasons, but because we have to stay true to what we are. But, the people are so accommodating that wanna come on and tell their story. It's amazing. And then they just understand and they know they become part of our world and part of our family once they're on, which a lot of people love. So that's a great part of it too.
Yeah, and we have a lot of shows that are really tough. We've had a bunch this year even that are really tough to get through because the story is so traumatic and so difficult, and the person telling the story is so clearly struggling. And we are as patient as we can be, and we try to tell people if you don't want to go into this before, don't. But we've had a couple say, you know what, this is my first time telling a story. I want to do it on your show, which is such an honor. And those shows can leave you exhausted because people go
Yeah.
through real stuff. And if you care about people, you feel it for them. And then we have the shows that are lighter. Today was kind of lighter. It was great. We try to give you a mix here. We don't want to be a predictable show. We want to be a mixed bag, but it's all about the stories and the people. And look for it to come from all different angles in the future too, because we think stories and people telling their story is irreplaceable.
Right. And, that's why we did this, to get the stories out there that people might know, but not really know, and get them a better understanding of it and from different perspectives, not just reading an article or
Right.
something like that. You're getting it from the people who actually went through it. And, uh, I think we're blessed. I mean, a lot of these don't work. A
Right.
lot of these aren't successful. 80% of podcasts fail after 10 shows, and here we are at 149.
Wow.
So it's a good thing. And a lot of it is the way me and you are. Uh, and I thank you for being a solid partner in this, uh, in bouncing things off each other, and the way we are, I think works. And season 4 is going to be great.
Well, thank you for the same. You have, the both of us, I think, have grown a lot in this role, in this undertaking. It's something that we were both a little bit kind of uncertain about when we first started. How do we, not just fill time, but fill it with meaningful comments and conversation and stuff. And after a while, you just relax and be yourself, and you, like you always say, we're just sitting around talking, and it just flows from there. But it's been a great journey with you. Let's keep going, man. We got years ahead of us in this
Oh,
because
yeah.
this is fun. And you know what? Podcasts are an incredible platform, right? It's an incredible platform.
Yeah.
We have listeners in 110 countries. That's
Crazy.
mind-boggling to us.
Crazy
Mind-boggling.
that someone on the other side of the world is driving in their car listening to us.
Yeah.
Like, what do you not that we don't want them to, but we both kinda say, "What are you doing?" Like
Yeah, really. Yeah, who are we? A couple of knuckleheads from New York, that's all we
like, put
are,
some
but
Christmas music on or
yeah.
something. But,
No.
uh
I'm not ready for that.
but you know what? It was a great year. We were successful this year. We got a lot done. We got a lot of great stories, a lot of other opportunities that came up,
Yes.
and looking forward to 2026, my friend, in season 4.
Yep, I am as well. So, with that, I will say thank you to you, thank you to our staff, thank you to our listeners. Um, Thank you to Jesus, my Lord and Savior, for giving us the air that we breathe and everything else that's part of us. We are beyond blessed, and we look forward to the next year of amazing guests, amazing stories, great conversations, and sharing it all with you. Thank you.
No doubt. Well said, my friend. Everybody, enjoy the remainder of 2025. We will see you again in January of 2026. Through the holidays, please stay safe. Happy New Year. And we'll see everyone in January. Stay safe. Be well, everybody.